Yes, my father, he was 30 at the time of the First World War, and he worked for Bar's Iron Brew, or Bar's Lemonade Works, whatever it was called, and he delivered with a horse and cart. But he was told that if he joined the army, he would keep his young brother, who was in Uist at the time, he was only 19, he would keep him out the army. So the year previously, he had broken his leg where a cart went over his leg when he was delivering. And he decided anyway to go to Edinburgh Castle, get a medical and sign up. So he appeared at Edinburgh Castle and he took off all his clothes for the medical, and the doctor looked at his leg and said, "Not a chance with a leg like that will you get into the army." So he left the castle and went down to Waverley Station in Edinburgh and got the train to Inverness. And he went into Cameron Barracks there and had a medical there. And he got into the army because he never took his trousers off. So, rather a bit of a blunder by the medical people, but he joined up. But he didn't keep Angus out. Angus 19 was called up as well. And they stayed in a little thatched house about a mile east of Granitot. You know where it is. The Moulin stands on its own. Beautiful spot. Angus was called up. So at home was only left the mother and father and two sisters. So Angus was away. But they got a telegram, in Uist, that he was missing, presumed dead. So they must have gone through the usual religious things that they do in the islands. They would have the minister and probably a prayer meeting, I don't know, and maybe a church service in memory of him. But they got another telegram 3 weeks later that he was alive. So that's what you call the highs and lows of life, I think.
The song was composed by Neil Ferguson from Granitot and is called Plararis. San Fatima huan je mulle huan ha uist en kontenes boiche lekkere huan titten annam chloos agus fadem den stoge der haien.
Talking about a small crofting township like Middle Quarter in the 1930s, there was a great feeling of despondency, I suppose, and I don't suppose you ever get over deaths like that in the family. But there were a croft of about 500 yards away. There were two brothers didn't come back, Norman MacDonald and Finlay MacDonald, and that's a big loss out of one family. And then their nearest neighbour, they were the McCouche family, and Roderick McCouche had served in the Lovat Scouts in the First World War, and they were stationed at this time in Mesopotamia, as it was called. Nowadays it's called Iraq, but Roderick McCouche died of disease in Mesopotamia in the Lovat Scouts. And my mother knew him very well, of course, so it's another family with a bad blow. So that's three families I can think of, and possibly a fourth one. There's another MacLean family, and I think they lost a son as well. So it had a huge effect on the crofting township.
San Fatima huan je mulle huan ha uist en kontenes alle lekkere huan titten annam chloos agus fadem den stoge der haien.
In the 1930s, our family, my mother and father and my brother and sister, we lived in Leith outside Edinburgh, but we used to come to Uist every summer for our summer holidays. And one of our neighbours was the Morrison family, a couple of hundred yards away, and one of the things I remember very clearly about their house was that although I don't remember Donald Morrison, who served in the Cameron Highlanders in the First World War. I don't actually remember seeing him, but I knew his family very well, and I was at school with most of them. And his wife, his widow, was a good friend of my mother. And the striking thing in my memory is that he had lost a leg in the First World War, and his crutch, he had a wooden crutch issued by the government, I suppose, and this crutch the family kept standing behind the door in the living room for years and years. And I thought it was a striking memorial to his life and death. And when you think back and think of a man coming back to be a crofter with one leg, and he married and had a big family, and to try and do croft work with one leg and take home the peats and cut the peats and plant the corn and harvest the corn and all the other work with animals that a crofter had to do to keep the family alive. Must have been a terrific struggle.
Hoe medical lily, als een parks niet een is gaat ook het jij dikke zitten. Spesa mara. Mocht je drie te zitten. Als wat de voetje gaan naar de pikken moest en wat we deel geven. Ik aan de boelen zijn de cottage pikken zijn de toeleven. Ach ook kunnen zijn. Gaat de hond maar als we naar een beetje. Ik zijn het kerrijachke. Niet zomaar was dan van 2 jaar naar camera niet. Ze deel zie mensen die hoe dat telegram krijgt ook niet zijn. Ik ga nog bij maar gezegd. Zou ik het telegram kunnen direct bij 2 jaar zijn. Dus goed dat ze gaan niet over snel kunnen zijn, maar ministers, kunnen we zo goed dat. Ach 3 jaar kunnen ze zijn hoe dat telegram wil ik kwijt bij jou. Agus haroliste celebration hier, maar låta even no loka shalasar så lukate. Jag tinnas asa folk på Uist. Rako maraf.